Well, folks, in today's video, we're going to be unboxing a Canadian National SD60F from Aurora Miniatures. This is a company that up until about a week ago, I had never heard of, but I was hosting a live stream and somebody brought them up, and just about everybody in the stream started praising them as being basically the best detail money can currently buy. So I did some research and I found out that they're a relatively new manufacturer. The company was founded in 2020, so fairly late to the model railroading game, but I think that's cool. I think it's great to see a new company starting up in this day and age. And I looked at the Canadian National SD60F, which everybody was talking about, and it looked decent, so I ordered one up, and here it is. Now, let's see if this thing lives up to all these high claims. Here's the box, and I kind of like what they've done here. You've got a watercolor mural of a grain train going through what looks to be the Rocky Mountains. On the side over here, we got a Lock Sound logo, and then on the other side, you actually have the details of the locomotive. This is a sound-equipped model right here. Anyways, let's dig into the box and see how the engine itself looks. And there it is. Seems to include some decals in case you want to add some extra things on yourself. As for the locomotive, everything looks to be very well packed. We'll just pull this thing out here and have a bit of a closer look. Similar to Atlas, this thing is actually screwed down to the frame just to make sure that this thing doesn't get loose in transit. So far, I'm very impressed with the detail. You can see that all the handrails are sincere, nothing molded into the plastic. Really kind of what you would expect for something of this price point. The paint all looks very crisp. I don't see any signs of overspray or any misprints. The grills all appear to be made out of metal, so they're not molded into the plastic. Over on the back, things look pretty good too. We got all the MU hoses, the train line hose. Got a coupler here which seems to be made out of plastic, which honestly I'm not the biggest fan of, but we'll give it a chance and see how it performs. They've even bothered to color the fuel filler hose as well as the emergency shutoff. The trucks themselves look pretty nice too. You can see they've actually cast the manufacturer's logo in there, and from what I've been told, the bearing caps apparently rotate with the wheels, which is something I've only seen from a few manufacturers. Over on the front, things look pretty good too. We've got what I believe are backlit number boards, backlit marker lights, the two ditch lights, of course the MU hoses, and another plastic coupler. I believe the two hatches for the sand are not printed. I think those are added on as well, which is nice to see. And wouldn't you know it, on the bottom they've actually managed to mold traction motors. That is a first. I've never seen that on an HO scale locomotive before. I have no idea how they would fit the gears in there. I don't know if that's going to make it difficult for maintenance at some point, but that's a first. As for the top of the locomotive, I think things look pretty crisp. We've got actual fans inside the radiators, which is a nice detail to see, and there are some other manufacturers that have done that, so it's not a first, but it is good quality. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with how this thing looks, but what I'm really curious about is how it performs. So let's take this thing over the track and see what the running capability is like. I'm going to try to run this locomotive through all of its paces. With a price point of $300, it should literally have all the bells and whistles. Let's test that theory. So if we click 0, we've got the headlight. 1 should be the bell. Yes, it is. 2 is the horn. We got the coupler. 4, from what I can tell, isn't doing anything. 5 seems to control the marker lights, so you can see as I click through here, those are changing. 6 is for the ditch lights. So far not seeing anything from 7. 8's startup, and I believe the number boards too. Yes, it is. I think that's it in terms of features. Now let's give it some power and see how it runs. Alright, it's moving. So far, the locomotive has been performing very well. I'd like to test out the speeds now, so we're going to crank up the throttle all the way and just see what the top speed is at wide open throttle. It's possible this locomotive is capable of going a little bit faster, but they've probably adjusted the CVs for realism's sake. Now let's try doing a slow speed test. I suspect that this thing is going to perform quite well considering it's a modern and realistic locomotive. That's pretty good right there. It's certainly what you'd hope for a locomotive in its price bracket, but still impressive nonetheless. Anyways, let's put some cars behind this thing and see what the pulling capacity is like. Well, so far it seems to be doing a pretty good job hauling this 20-car consist. The real question is going to be this corner right here because there's a bit of a slant to the layout. So let's see if it can pull through. It's definitely a lot of wheel slippage going on, but it hasn't stopped yet. Yeah, no problem. That's pretty impressive. This is a very heavy train. There are a lot of metal cars involved, so with regular plastic cars, it's possible this locomotive would have a pulling capacity of maybe 30 cars, which in my opinion is pretty good. Now that we've seen how this thing performs, the last thing I want to do is just quickly open it up and just kind of have a gander through the wrench and see what kind of job they did. Given the fact it seems to be working okay, I don't think we're going to see anything too horrendous, but let's have a quick peek. Now, they did have a tutorial online on how to open one of these. Apparently, you have to gently pry up on this to disconnect the lights. And then we just have to go down to the bottom of the locomotive and unscrew the couplers and fuel cell. You have a little bit of oil which appears to have leaked down here. Well, some negotiating made our way down to the internals of the locomotive. Everything looks pretty straightforward. Got some 3M tape for wire management. A whole bunch of capacitors. I think these act as sort of a keep alive system for when the locomotive loses power on possibly dirty track. I believe these brown and black wires are feeding up from both of the trucks, and these two are headed down to the motor. And then over here we've got the sound decoder, and this would be super easy to replace because it just uses the standard plug system. The connection between the truck and chassis looks decent as well. It's actually going through the chassis and not up through the gear tower as some other manufacturers do. And then right here they have what I can only assume is a skew wound 5-pole motor. So overall I think things look pretty good here. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think this is all quite acceptable work. Front wheels are in spec, and the middle ones are just slightly off. Those are good. Slightly off. Good. So both the middle sets are slightly narrower than the gauge suggests they should be, but maybe they did that just so that these can go around tighter corners. I don't know. Front coupler seems to be ever so slightly low. Back coupler, however, seems to be right on the money. Now let's find out if I managed to take this thing apart and put it back together without breaking anything. Still got forwards, still got reverse. Headlight still functions, the ditch lights still function, the marker lights seem fine, and even the number boards look okay, so that clip system seems to work pretty well. Well, folks, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed unboxing and testing this locomotive out, and I'm so far very happy with it. It seems to be doing everything it's supposed to. The detail is excellent, and the performance seems pretty good. I think the only critique I have so far is that it's a bit quiet, but it's possible that that can be changed by just adjusting the CV, so I'll have to find out. I am going to be curious to see how this thing holds up in the long run, as it is a fairly new product from a new manufacturer, which I think does open the door for some quality control issues. But I can't complain, because right out of the box it's doing everything that it should be. Anyways, I'll finish things off there. Thank you all so much to the people that suggested that I buy and unbox this thing, and to all of you for watching.